we need to be the CEO of our health as we get older. We think that we're just going to go to a doctor, they're going to give us a pill, and we're going to go. That's what medicine has become. Go to the doctor, get a pill, go home. That's not it. That Band-Aid is supposed to help you bridge the gap until you can figure out the root cause of what happened and how do we heal? How do we get better?
Whether you're a patient, survivor, or caregiver, you don't have to walk the cancer journey alone. Let's leave the past behind and come into this present moment together to be educated, inspired, and enlightened. This is Mind, Body, Spirit, Cancer. Welcome to Mind, Body, Spirit, Cancer, a new podcast presented by the American Cancer Society. I'm your host, Pat Croce, and this week's guest is the definition of a multi-talented media presence. Her 2-decade-plus career spans across the worlds of journalism and Hollywood and everything in between. She has hosted and reported for a variety of outlets, interviewing presidents, celebrities, and other luminaries. She has acted on both the silver and small screens, starred in her own reality show, and started her own digital broadcast network. And these days, you can hear her as the host of the Heal Squad by Maria Menounos podcast. She's a New York Times bestselling author and a pancreatic cancer survivor. Please welcome Maria Menounos. Maria, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
I love to start the show just with a little moment of stillness, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I have this Tibetan bell that I brought back from Tibet. And so we will just allow our attention to rest lovingly and gently on this beautiful sound. It's like a doorbell. It's like a doorbell to our sacred space, Maria, that we're going to share with the cancer community, and that's survivors, patients, caregivers, people like you and me. Maria, after sharing your bio, it reminded me of what an amazing, diverse career you've had that spanned all realms, all dimensions of Hollywood and the media. Growing up, what were your initial aspirations that got you to this point?
I knew that I wanted to be in this industry from the time I was 13. And I didn't know how I was going to get there. My parents were immigrants. I was a daughter of janitors. I was like, how do you get there? How does this even happen? And so I just knew it was going to take baby steps and I was going to do everything I could to get there. And so whether it was a little fashion show or a beauty pageant or whatever it was, I took everything really seriously. I started off in journalism and then I veered off and did some hosting and some acting and wrestling and everything in between. There's really not much I would say no to. I want to try everything.
But where did this work ethic come from? It's one thing to have dreams and aspirations, but not everyone can put the energy into it. Where did yours come from?
Well, my parents were immigrants and they were hardworking people. They were janitors cleaning nightclubs. So my brother and I used to go to the nightclubs with them. We didn't have money for babysitters. And so from the time we were really young, we were at work with them and we got to see them work really, really hard. And then the second we could join in and we were old enough to hold a broom, we were in there cleaning as well, because the faster we cleaned, the faster we could get out of there to go to the next place we had to clean and the next place we had to clean. And then eventually we'd get to go home. So if we pitched in, we'd get to go home faster, or we'd get to go to our cousin's house faster, whatever was going on, because we worked every Christmas, every New Year's, every Easter, every holiday. We worked 365 days a year. So if we wanted to get to a family function, we had to help. And so it was instilled in me very young to work hard and the value of a dollar, for sure.
So of this Greek heritage, how did your parents respond to this move to Hollywood?
Terrified. And it was a little rough. My mom was all for it because she had watched me all these years really trying hard to parlay any little thing, any fashion show, anything I was doing back home into my eventual dream. My dad was really scared, and then eventually it all worked out. They saw that I didn't get involved in the dark side of it all, which is what they were afraid of. And yeah,
Well, there's a germ of courage required. Where's that come from?
I think when you're cleaning nightclubs, there's only one way to look, and that's up. And so that's what I used to dream on those stages where the B-52s had played the night before, and I would just dream really big, and my dad always said, "You can do anything you put your mind to," and I believed him.
You have these high dreams, high goals. Was there someone saying, "Yeah, you can do this"?
My mom my mom took me everywhere, to every fashion show, every photo shoot. She believed in me, um, and so I would say my mom. My dad was terrified of it all, so he was always saying no, and then my mom and I would just figure it out. But she's the one who definitely believed.
And this work ethic that got you to where you wanted to be, at some moment, it took an emotional toll, correct?
Yeah, I think listen, this is a really rough industry, but there are a lot of rough industries. I think doctors and nurses have it really rough in their industry too. We have it's been pretty evident what's gone on behind the scenes in our business and why it's been so challenging. But there's also more stuff, than that. I think, um, it can be toxic. It can be really, really hard. And I don't know if I was fully equipped to deal with some of it. And I think it just kind of stored in my body and then just popped out one day.
And what did you do?
Well, I mean, listen, I think I was first diagnosed with a brain tumor, a meningioma, and had surgery and then realized this was kind of a call to make changes. It was a rebirth. And so I went on a complete different path, a path of health and wellness and spirituality, even though my spirituality was always strong, but it went even deeper, if that was even possible, but it was. And I started focusing on my health in a really big way, realizing that not only was, the work tough and the toxicities tough, but to keep up, I had to make well, I didn't have to. I made poor choices. I ate a lot of fast food to try to get through the day. I wasn't sleeping well. I was just yeah, it was just a lot of bad food, and I think it just takes its toll on you along the way, and then I'd get sick and I'd ask for the Z-Pack. "Just get me a Z-Pack, get me a Z-Pack." I didn't realize what the ramifications of all those things were over time, and I always say your health is an accumulation of your choices to a degree. Obviously, there are things that we don't choose to, but your health can be an accumulation of choices. So you can have an accumulation of bad choices or good choices. So now in this last 6-year run, I have been making an accumulation of better choices so that I can start racking up the good points here so that the next 40 years will be much smoother sailing. That Mack truck I said wasn't going to be able to make a quick turn and go away. It hit, and it's hit hard. But now I'm like, okay, we've done it. We're dealing with it. We're reversing things. We're healing things, and that's where we're at. Started a whole show based on this called Heal Squad, where I'm committed to helping others with their health right alongside me and bringing in the best of the best to help us on that journey, and just staying super aware and focused on it.
I want to go back into when you changed your lifestyle. But before we do that, since you talked about Heal Squad, give us a little more about that.
So, Heal Squad is a daily show available on Apple Podcasts or YouTube, wherever you get your podcast, Spotify. And my goal with it has been to make it kind of a life improvement show, but very heavily focused on health and wellness so that people can get great takeaway every single day to implement into their lives. So, when you watch a show, I want you to leave with at least one good nugget that you can put into your day, put into your life, put into action, and make strides towards a better life. And so it saved my life It's saved other people's lives. And I'm grateful for all the incredible people that we get to bring on here to help us on this journey. Nobody teaches you about health. You grow up and your parents and teachers and everybody around you teaches you to achieve and to succeed and to get good grades and then to go to great college and make a lot of money, get a big job, get married and have kids. Health? there's there's very little that we're taught about health. Someone might tell you to eat your vegetables. No one's really teaching you why. Why do you need to eat these vegetables? Why do you not need the chocolate milk? And why do you need the broccoli? Let's teach kids from a young age that they have to have that ownership over their body. We don't know that we need to be the CEO of our health as we get older. We think that we're just going to go to a doctor, they're going to give us a pill, and we're going to go. That's what medicine has become. Go to the doctor, get a pill, go home. That's not it. That Band-Aid is supposed to help you bridge the gap until you can figure out the root cause of what happened and how do we heal? How do we get better? What choices do we need to make to stop this Mack truck from coming? If it's an autoimmune condition, it's not normal to have your body fighting itself. So why don't we just take the pill and move on? We need to think about what we need to do. Is it that we need to eat better? Is it that we need to sleep better? Do we need to get our circadian rhythm on track? What do we have to change about our lifestyle? Do we need to wear blue light glasses? And are we, doing night shifts? Should we switch to just a normal, shift? Whatever it is, we don't really think about this stuff. And we've normalized a lot of conditions that shouldn't be normalized.
Amen, sister. I am a fan of you. Now, this podcast has an audience of cancer patients, cancer survivors, and caregivers. And before you were diagnosed with your cancer, you acted as a caregiver. Can you tell us about your mother's battle with cancer?
Yeah. And interestingly enough, a lot of people end up getting ill, taking care of the ill. It's going to be a huge crisis with Alzheimer's booming in the next 10 years, but that's a whole other story and a whole other topic that I'm really passionate about. But yeah, my mom was diagnosed with a brain tumor. Hers was glioblastoma in 2016. And I was her caretaker alongside my dad and my husband, who also helped. And then a few months later, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And so we both had surgeries from the same doctor at Cedars-Sinai, Dr. Keith Black, and then we're recovering. But my mom's journey wasn't that of a normal journey. She was really blessed, and we did a lot of alternative things. I took her to Mexico. Funny enough, the woman who started that facility got cancer taking care of her mother with cancer. So she built this facility in Mexico basically to treat the patient and the caregiver, because she knew how important it was to take care of the caregiver as well. And so anyhow, my mom, we really did well with glioblastoma until she got COVID and she was too weak to take the treatments. And then the tumor grew and we lost her finally after 5 years, which is huge for glioblastoma. But those last 5 months, caregiving in that kind of decline and dealing with hospice and all of that, I learned a tremendous amount that I did share on my show, Heal Squad. If you go back into the archives, I gave like detailed caregiving instructions for people. It's really, really, I learned a lot, and I'm really good at kind of figuring out solutions to things. So you can go back into there and see that.
For sure. Now that's your caregiver role. Then you transform into a cancer patient role. When did your symptoms start?
My symptoms started, I think, soon after I lost my mom. I do think that it took its toll, even knowing and being aware that I had to be careful and having a lot of support. It still took its toll. So I feel for people out there, because it's a really rough process and super taxing on your body and your mind and your soul. And so I was having symptoms. I was super bloated. I would have bouts with diarrhea, and I didn't think anything of it, but I did do the testing to make sure there was no, something that I needed to know. Everything would come back negative. And eventually I got an endoscopy and colonoscopy and all kinds of things. I was doing it. I kept trying and trying to get to the root of this. Nothing was coming back. And then it wasn't until an outside facility did a body scan that we found this tumor on my pancreas. And that's when we went on that whole journey.
So you knew something was wrong listening to your body.
Mhm. I knew something was wrong, but no one was able to tell me what it was. I even went into the hospital buckled over in pain, really severe abdominal pain. They did a CT scan and they missed it at that point. It was 2 centimeters and it had almost doubled in size to 3.9 centimeters 2 months later. So, even with diagnostics, it was missed. I mean, I look like a really healthy person. I don't think anyone's really expecting what's under the hood sometimes. Yeah, it was unfortunate, but I do know that, we were lucky to catch it when we did, because if it was doubling in 2 months, I might not have gotten to see my daughter.
And the it was pancreatic cancer. How did you first hear that was your diagnosis?
Well, we did a biopsy and they told me it was a stage 1 neuroendocrine tumor at the time. And the doctor said that it is cancer, so they're going to have to remove the pancreas tail, the spleen. And so I had surgery. At that point, it was stage 2, apparently. And they removed the tail of my pancreas, my spleen, and 17 lymph nodes to make sure that it hadn't spread anywhere.
That was your treatment plan starting with the surgery, but what followed that? Did you have chemo, radiation?
No, I didn't have to do anything, thank God. They got it all out
Oh, beautiful.
and nothing had spread to any of the lymph nodes, so I was safe.
And when you first heard you had pancreatic cancer,
Or
what
they said I was safe. You never know, right? To hopefully nobody missed anything. I told them all, I'm like, "I know where you live. I'm gonna come for you." Anyway, sorry.
that's okay. When you heard the news of pancreatic cancer, what went through your mind?
I thought I wasn't gonna make it. I the first when they first told me that there was a large mass on my pancreas, the radiologist was white as a ghost and like shaking and so nervous and he was just like, you need to go to the hospital right away. And so I looked at him and I cracked a joke because I'm always joking, and I was like, so I'm a goner, right? And he was just so like freaked out. I was like, no, 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 I'm fine, don't worry, I've had crazy shit happen, I'm good, don't worry. So I was comforting him, and then raced to UCLA to my doctor who got me in for an MRI. And when they confirmed it, he and I just started bawling because he was just like, this would be the cruelest joke. He goes, I hope this was the stupidest scan ever. I hope that they made the biggest mistake of their lives. And then he and I were crying in the waiting room. It was really late at night and we were alone there. And my husband was like, you guys stop. We're going to be fine. And I'm like, how do you know? And he's like, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. And so, when I met with Dr. Donahue, who's incredible, he was like, listen, I'm going to get this out. You're going to be okay. And I had a pretty good amount of confidence in him that he wouldn't say that if he didn't really think I was going to be okay. So went into surgery and then got back the pathology and we had a little celebration.
And at the same time, something special was happening to your family, right?
Yes, yes. Well, this is why it was so even more emotional, because if I didn't have a baby on the way, I would have been like, all right, my ticket's up. What's going to happen? Like, I wouldn't have stressed as much because I'm not afraid to die. I was now because of my baby. So, so that was all I could think about, is I needed to be here for her. And so I had surgery February 16th. By June 23rd, my baby was born, and I was there to grab her and put her right on my chest, and she hasn't left my side since.
By donating to the American Cancer Society, your gift helps improve the lives of people with cancer and their families. Together, we can work to ensure everyone has an opportunity to prevent, detect, treat, and survive cancer. Visit cancer.org/donate and help make a difference.
And now, Heal Squad,
Mhm.
your passion, your purpose to get people to recognize, and I love the term you use, the CEO of your own health.
Mhm.
Give us that. Tell us exactly what you want our listeners all of our community to understand and to take hold of?
Yeah. Well, my thing with this show is my mission is to help educate people on just the status of affairs. What is what? Because we don't know what's behind that curtain at the hospital, at the doctor's office. And so I'm trying to demystify it in the most honest and caring way because I don't want to hurt anybody and I know everybody is useful on the journey. So I always say, if I'm the coach of the New England Patriots, I'm Bill Belichick. I'm not putting Tom Brady, my quarterback, on defense, and I'm not putting defense on offense. So I want to know where I'm using my players. So I've got Western medicine and I've got my naturopath. How am I using all these people? Well, I know with Western medicine, they're going to be great in acute moments. They're going to be great to stitch me up. If there's a heart attack or a surgery or anything diagnostic, generally, they will find, and they're really great prescribers. Healing, not as much. That's not really what they're trained to do anymore. They're really trained to diagnose and prescribe. That's how it goes. On the other side, so I use them for all of this, and I love them, and I need them, and they're amazing, and I'm so grateful for them. Over here, I have a naturopath who is super focused on getting to the root of why you have an autoimmune condition. What's going wrong inside of your body? What could we optimize to turn things on and shut other things off? She'll spend 2 hours with me. Whereas I've had in here in my studio, I've had doctors, the top doctors in the world tell me, I have 15 minutes with you. Let me give you the behind the curtain. I got 15 minutes with you. Top breast cancer surgeon, Dr. Christy Funk. She says, I have 15 minutes with you. I have to do a thorough breast exam. I have to answer all your questions. I have to do all my paperwork. And as I'm running out, you're asking me what else I could be doing. And she's like, at the time, I was giving bad advice because I didn't get nutrition classes, enough nutrition. Now, after doing all the research, she wrote an entire amazing book called The Breast Manual. Does she know what to say to people? But she had to do all that on her own. The medical community is trained in very small amounts on nutrition and what we can do. Hippocrates said, let food be thy medicine. Why did we stray from that? Anyhow, so we know where we're using them. We know where you're using the naturopath. And then we need to understand that it's up to us. We have to listen to the signals. We cannot think diarrhea is normal. We can't think constipation is normal. We can't think bloating is normal. None of this is normal. A thyroid condition is not normal. To me, it's the gateway for everything else to come. You have to take control of your health and you have to care about it as much or more than your career. I didn't. And look at where I ended up. So for me, I thought it was just about career and my family. And that was it. And just, yeah, go get the pill, go get the quick fix, whatever it is, and keep on going. But the reality is we have to know what's going on and we have to keep investigating and keep pushing, knowing the doctor only has 15 minutes. I had Dr. Zach Bush, triple board certified doctor, here in my studio. He said, Maria, we go to medical school thinking we're going to heal people. And we wake up. He goes, I woke up and I realized I'm a pharmacist. So it's a system that's unfortunately needing a little bit of an upgrade. But we know what we have to do. And we don't want to do it because it's not easy. So we have to eat better. Processed foods have to go. We have to be as clean and organic as we can be. We have to realize the things we're putting on our skin are hormone disruptors, creating things like thyroid conditions. Like we have to be really focused on this stuff. And so I'm doing everything I can to lead by example and to make all of these changes. And hopefully I can reverse a lot of things and show people what's possible. I'm hoping I'm given that opportunity in life. But it's a full court press, your health, and we need to take it into the highest of considerations.
You've checked every box for this audience, and this self-advocacy right now, the CEO of your own health, I just love. And the caregiving of you, I love. The survivor, I love. One last question. What would you say to a brand new cancer patient that was diagnosed today? What lasting advice would you share?
I always say, don't believe in the diagnosis. The diagnosis is there. Don't believe in it. Believe in hope. Believe in God. Believe in whatever universal force you want to believe in. There's a reason this is happening. And it's just something that you have to go through and find the silver linings, the opportunities, the lemonade, whatever it is. I've had so many moments when I look back at all of these things I've gone through. I'm like, wow, well, if that didn't happen, this wouldn't have happened. There's a great proverb from a guest I had on my show where he said, good thing, bad thing, who knows? There was a guy in a village back in the day. His son was paralyzed. And all of the people in the village, they came to him and they said, oh my gosh, your poor son, he'll never dance with a girl. He'll never get married, all these things. And the guy said, good thing, bad thing, who knows? Then the war comes and they draft all the boys, but his. And they said, oh my gosh, you're so lucky. Your son doesn't have to go. We're going to lose all our sons. And they said, good thing, bad thing, who knows? And so if you use some of these tools in life, like there's another one I had a guest on my show, choose wonder over worry. So when I was really in my panicked moment, so if you just have been diagnosed with cancer and you're in that panic moment, I'm not saying that you can set it aside and not think about it and, just believe. I was terrified. I was crying. I was curled up in a ball. I just didn't stay there. I decided to use some of the tools from this show, like choose wonder over worry. And I said, I wonder what it's going to be like when the doctor calls next and gives me good news. I wonder what it's going to be like when I can get through the surgery and get to the other side and get to meet my baby. I would do that, and it started to work. What you tell your brain is a supercomputer. What you tell your brain will be. And we are really good at catastrophizing and thinking of the worst rather than thinking, well, why does that have to be the ending to my story? I don't know the ending to my story. I would tell my mom all the time, we don't know the ending to your story, Mom. What if we think it's over and now you just walk one day? Who knows? We have no idea what's going to happen. There's so many miracles. Read Radical Remission. So I always tell people, find the hope in books like that, Radical Remission and hopeful stories, because you don't know, you might be the next one. Why focus on the diagnosis and the months that they're giving you and any of that? There's so many people that have heard you have 6 months to live and then they ended up living another 13 years or 20 years. So don't be committed to your disease. Be committed to the options that could be possible.
Beautiful. And you are that beautiful story, that walking the talk, that firsthand experience that we can all embrace and use as a role model. And Maria, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
We're going to take a short break, and I'll be then joined by American Cancer Society CEO, Dr. Karen Knudsen. Stick around. You don't want to miss it.
I love you. I love the sweet potato pie you bring to every family reunion. I love how you're my morning alarm. I can't imagine a Sunday show, night in, night out, or dinner without you. I can't imagine any tomorrow without you in it. So today I say, I love you. Get screened. Regular cancer screening saves lives. Visit cancer.org/getscreened to learn more.
Welcome back to Mind, Body, Spirit, Cancer. In addition to our featured interviews, each episode of our podcast will also contain a segment called ACS Mission Moment. This is an opportunity for us to dive a little deeper into the content of each episode from a medical perspective and hear about some of the helpful tools the American Cancer Society has to offer to our listeners. And here to help me complete this mission is American Cancer Society CEO, Dr. Karen Knudsen. Welcome, Dr. K.
Hi, Pat. Thank you so much for having me. I'm just honored to be here with you on the podcast.
I can't think of a better person to share passion, intelligence, and love for her product, her mission than you. So really, my first question is, Maria has experienced cancer treatment as both a patient and a caregiver. What are some of the unforeseen challenges and costs associated with treatment that would affect both these groups?
Yeah, it's such a great question, Pat. When people think about the cost of cancer, their mind often goes to the cost of treatment and the things that happen with regard to, bills from hospitals. And that is true and very important. But what's often not thought about until someone gets on that journey is that cancer patients are frequent flyers. Frequently someone, especially with an advanced cancer, is going to need to spend 5 or 6 weeks in radiation therapy, or 5 or 6 weeks in chemotherapy, or both. And these types of advanced treatments are not always available within someone's own community. Cancer care is largely clustered into centers that can have the kind of expertise to treat advanced cancers. So what we know from looking across the nation for the patients that we serve at the American Cancer Society is that overall, more than 200,000 individuals every year have to travel more than 40 miles for cancer care. This is not small. So in addition to just overall cost of care, these long trips add up with hotel and lodging expenses. So, we've dug into this, and just lodging for someone for a typical 4 or 6 to 8 week radiation or surgery regimen can cost $17,000. So these are things not covered by insurance that are true barriers to care. And so as a result, it's critical that we understand that problem and solve for it.
And I think you have understood it, because you said lodging. I know for a fact that ACS offers lodging programs to help offset some of the costs for patients, because a family member of mine was a loving recipient of the ACS lodging program. Would you please share with our community what assistance ACS offers for cancer patients?
Absolutely. We are so passionate about this. As part of our mission to improve the lives of cancer patients and their families, our patient support teams are actually my biggest work staff. We're working in 5,000 communities across the country. So in there, we have been able to do a lot of different things to try to solve for these gaps that present barriers to cancer care. So one is the Hope Lodge. So I'm very proud, Pat, you and I, in our home city of Philadelphia, there's one of the ACS Hope Lodges. There are 32 across the country. What are they? They are not hotels. They are special places for cancer patients and their caregiver to stay free of charge during the cancer journey. Some individuals stay more than 200 days in these Hope Lodges. They're able to connect with each other. They're able to connect caregiver to caregiver and truly improve their quality of life, and as well reduce some of these barriers to care that are in the form of lodging. So what does that look like? Those 32 Hope Lodges have more than 1,000 rooms across the U.S. and Puerto Rico. In the last year, we provided lodging for more than 29,000 cancer patients and caregivers, saving more than $55 million in lodging expenses. Already this year, so we're only halfway through 2023, and we've given lodging to more than 15,000 patients and caregivers. So we're on track to surpass even what we've done in previous years. But those are the 32 Hope Lodges. They're incredibly important, and we want to build more. We're looking for partners to help us put up more Hope Lodges because they transform lives. But in the absence of that, we know we need additional partners. So we're very thankful to Extended Stay America. In more than 750 locations nationwide, we are working with Extended Stay America to provide reduced or free lodging for cancer patients. And in the last year, that looked like a little short of 4,000 patients that were reached. And then finally, something that people don't think about as relates to cancer is, what about the frequent flyers who live near a cancer center but don't have transportation? That is not a small number of people. And so if someone has to miss a single day of chemotherapy and can only come to the chemotherapy unit 4 days out of the week instead of 5, they're not going to have the same outcome as someone who completed their care as planned. So transportation is a major endeavor of what it is that we do. We provide transportation grants across the country to areas of need, and also then run our own transportation program called Road to Recovery, where anyone listening to this can volunteer to be a driver to Road to Recovery. So we've had more than 1,400 people access and be members of Road to Recovery already this year. And so just so important that we solve for these things, which are not obvious, but are some of the major barriers to equitable cancer care.
Geez, it's great the way ACS is knocking down those barriers. I'm really curious, though, about the Hope Lodges. Are they 100% free, and how do listeners find them?
They sure are. So if you go to cancer.org, you can—
They're free.
They are 100% free. We never charge anyone one dime. So what is it like to be in a Hope Lodge? Let me just break that down a little bit. So in a Hope Lodge, each room has 2 beds, one for the patient, one for the caregiver, and a little suite, understanding that the caregiver is going to need to probably connect with others, potentially do work, from that room. But what we hear from those who are staying in the Hope Lodges is, like any family, the magic happens in the kitchen. There's a lot of programming and things that happen at the Hope Lodges to improve quality of life. But at the kitchen, at the end of the day, imagine a large test kitchen with multiple families in there and multiple stoves and units all connected, creating dinner from each other. And there is a patient who started their first day of chemotherapy, and another across the aisle of the kitchen who is on their last day, who's walked that same journey. They're able to share experiences. The caregivers are able to share experiences. They create organically these social support networks for each other that are durable and that help strengthen them as they walk through their journey. They are walking into a building where every day they're with others who understand exactly what they are going through. And that is irreplaceable. We also have special units, for example, for patients who are immunocompromised, patients who have special needs and going through cancer therapy. So it really is just such an incredible resource. Everywhere we go, where there's a major area of cancer service, of care, people are asking us to help build the Hope Lodges. And this is a big endeavor for the American Cancer Society to take one on, because we never want to have to charge a patient to stay. And so we're looking at right now, where will our next Hope Lodges be? And that is what we're planning for at the moment, and looking forward to announcing what that looks like. And we're looking for partners to help us get that done.
Okay, partners, step up. And you mentioned the kitchen in the Hope Lodge as a meeting place, as a learning place, but how about as a place of true nutrition? Maria and I spoke about the importance of nutrition. Share with us, from your perspective, the relationship between our diet and the diagnosis of cancer.
Oh yeah, it's such an important topic. Right now, we estimate, based on research, that 45% of the new cancers in this country are potentially avoidable through modifiable risk factors. And one of those is diet. So if we break all that down, like what's within that 45%, about 18% of cancers and about 16% of cancer deaths are related to excess body weight, physical inactivity, excessive alcohol consumption, and or poor nutrition. And each of these is an independent risk factor. Altogether, of course, could heighten risk even further. But just because someone is, for example, of an appropriate body weight, or a healthy body weight technically, but they're physically inactive, that still puts them in cancer risk. So it's really important that nutrition and diet are part of cancer prevention, but also part of cancer survivorship. So we know that cancer patients who go onto a nutritional plan that's right for them and that is healthy, fruits and vegetables, high fiber, all the things that we know we need to do, can prevent their chance of a recurrence or reduce their chance of a recurrence. So we give those learnings, for example, even within the Hope Lodge. And there are guidelines, research-based guidelines on cancer.org for cancer patients and those who would like to prevent cancer, that have been, through research, demonstrated to reduce risk. So, I won't go through all of them, but again, it's the things that we know to be true. Foods high in nutrients, foods that are not ultra high processed, things like vegetables, especially the more vibrant the colors are, the better, right? The dark greens, the reds, the oranges, right? Beans and peas, fruits of multiple colors, let the rainbow be your guide, whole grains, and then reduce the things that we know increase cancer risk: red and processed meats, sugar sweetened beverages, highly refined foods, alcohol. These are the things that are really important to reduce. But the Hope Lodge gives us an opportunity to give people more information about how they can take control of reducing their cancer risk beyond what happens in a hospital or a clinic.
Beautiful. And both of us are big advocates of exercise. What are the guidelines for exercise in the prevention and treatment of cancer?
Yeah, so important. Now, of course, getting exercise is important for healthy living writ large, no question. But we've done the research and funded the research to say, well, okay, what does it mean exactly? Can we break that down? Like how much exercise? And so let's talk about that. Again, it's all on cancer.org, and we want people to use these guidelines. But for adults, what cancer prevention looks like is between 150 to 300 minutes of moderate intensity exercise, or 75 to 150 minutes of vigorous intensity exercise every week. For children, it's 1 hour of moderate or vigorous intensity activity every day, but also important to limit sedentary behaviors. So, after your vigorous exercise, 75 minutes, sitting down the rest of the day is not a good thing. So ensuring that you're up, that you're about, and we don't yet completely understand the why. That's okay. Get moving and inspire others to get moving. If you're a leader of people at your business, make it okay to have a walking meeting. Make it okay to say, hey, I'm going to turn this Zoom meeting into audio, and let's both take it while we're walking around our office building or our neighborhood. Because while others see exercise when they see people walking about, you know what I see, Pat? I see cancer prevention. So that's what I want to see more of. And so it's all of these activities associated, with physical activities, for example, has been shown to lower risk of some of the cancers that plague the US as related to cancer deaths: colorectal cancer, breast cancer, endometrial cancer, esophageal, stomach cancer, but also can lower risk of lung, head and neck, liver, pancreatic, all these multiple cancer types can be risk reduced through these types of activities. So, inspire others to get moving and do it yourself. But especially if you're a leader of people, whether you lead a family or you lead a business or a business unit, if you love those people, get them moving.
We used to say in the physical therapy world, Dr. K, if it's physical, it's therapy. Get physical.
Get physical. And that is so true, Pat, and as relates to cancer prevention, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us once again. All right, that wraps up this week's episode of Mind, Body, Spirit, Cancer, presented by the American Cancer Society. As our time together comes to an end, I would like to once again thank my guests, Maria Menounos and Dr. Karen Knudsen, for joining us. For more information on cancer research, advocacy, and patient support for your own or a loved one's cancer journey, please visit us at cancer.org. And don't forget to talk to your doctor about what screenings are right for you. I'm Pat Croce. Thanks for coming with us on this divine adventure. And be sure to follow, rate, and review the show on whatever platform you're listening on. Peace.
The content of this episode is not intended as medical advice, nor should it replace the expertise of a medical cancer care team. Visit cancer.org for more information or call the American Cancer Society National Cancer Information Center at 1-800-227-2345 to speak with a trained cancer information specialist. Mind, Body, Spirit, Cancer is executive produced by the American Cancer Society in partnership with Pat Croce, with production services provided by Brand Live.